So I think it is a fairly safe statement to say at this point in time, with what we know to look forward to for Nintendo Switch games in 2023, that 100% Tears of the Kingdom is the most anticipated title of the year. Yes, there will be more announcements to come, hopefully as soon as something like the February Nintendo Direct, but until we get additional game announcements, all eyes are on May 12th, 2023 and the lead up to that date, as we should expect a lot of marketing hype and build up as we march closer to launch date. And in today's video, we have to talk about a pretty major leak when it comes to a potential gameplay mechanic for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom that has been floating around online due to some promotional material that shouldn't have gotten out yet, and we have to go over all the details and discuss what, if anything, this means for new gameplay functionality on Zelda Tears of the Kingdom right now. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below. Hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today. Make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. And as I mentioned, guys, today we are talking about, in my personal opinion, and definitely for me personally, the most anticipated 2023 Nintendo Switch game, which is Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. We are officially now in the longest development cycle ever in between mainline Zelda game releases, which you have to stop and think about that for a while. Yes, this game is being developed during a time where we did experience a real-world pandemic, and that definitely could have added into the delay factor with this game, but it was also thought that maybe it would be quite a bit of a quicker development cycle, because the reality is that even though this is a sequel to the first ever open world Zelda game and truly a fundamental shift on what the entire Zelda formula is as a whole with Breath of the Wild, it is in that same Hyrule. Granted, we don't know how much has changed and how much of the game really does take place in the skies this time around, and maybe even the grounds beneath. And while we probably won't hear anything else around this game officially from Nintendo until something like the February time slot, when we expect to see them take the stage once again with a mainline Nintendo Direct presentation, there is some interesting promotional material floating around at different retailers internationally, and you could see this following picture that has been leaked out from a German-based ad around the game. And one asterisk to this entire conversation is this is not a verified Nintendo ad. We don't know if this is some kind of elaborate Photoshop work, so keep that in mind. Nothing is official with this functionality until we actually see it announced from Nintendo, but the big thing in question here is the big Nintendo Switch Online icon on this promotional ad, because you might realize that you only need to go out of your way to promote and mention that Nintendo Switch Online membership is required for something if there's something like online functionality, most likely besides save cloud data, because we don't historically see Nintendo throw this Nintendo Switch Online logo onto games that just only have save cloud support. So I do personally think, if this ad is legitimate, that it does mean something more in terms of gameplay elements potentially being built around Nintendo Switch Online. Now, we have to break down what kind of different modes this could be. Is it just a side mode? Is it something like a multiplayer experience that is optional, like a Zelda's Four Swords Adventures or Triforce Heroes? It could definitely be something like that. Is Nintendo gonna go completely to left field and have some kind of online multiplayer, like you're multiple links and you're actually trying to kill each other in the world of Hyrule? I don't see that being a strong possibility at all, but Nintendo is Nintendo at the end of the day, so you can never rule out anything for certain. Or is this some kind of interesting co-op mechanic, as it has been brought up online quite a bit that it is thought that Zelda may be a playable character this time around? And while I think many out there, and myself included, just kind of thought that would mean maybe sometimes you're playing as Link in a certain point of the story, and other times you do actually take over Zelda and play the game from her perspective, but it is more of a alternating mechanic. However, maybe there are sections of the game where you are traversing the world together, like we saw in the very first trailer that revealed Tears of the Kingdom to us, and there are sections of the game where two people locally, or the big thing here, online, can link up and go through a portion or maybe the entire Tears of the Kingdom adventure with a friend. That would be a very unique Zelda experience, but again, this game has had a very long development cycle, and it may have some curveballs for us that we haven't thought of in terms of gameplay functionality. Now, my personal hope for what this feature is, although I don't know exactly how Nintendo would pull it off if we do indeed get to expect online functionality with friends, and meaning we get to somehow play together, is the idea of a Dark Souls-like summon mechanic, where if you're unfamiliar, in Dark Souls, Elden Ring, or really just any Souls/FromSoft game, which if you guys don't already know, I am a huge fan of, all of those games. It's honestly one of my favorite franchises of all time, besides games like Zelda and Metroid that probably take the cake. But there is a really unique co-op ability that when you're going against a major boss, or if you were just in a certain section of the world, you can summon in a friend for that section. They will ultimately go back once you've beaten said boss or hit a certain point of progression while they're summoned into the world, but it essentially lets the enemies and bosses alike have scalable damage to make it make sense. So even though it's a 2-on-1 attack at this point with your friend in the world, the game ramps up its difficulty to compensate for that. And the difference is how would you have two links playing side by side, unless if there is some kind of weird different thing going on that we don't know about, where this is two different links and one's 10,000 years ago and one's the modern day link, and maybe we're talking time travel again in this game, and they ultimately find themselves in the same world where this would open up, where you could actually play as both links at the same time, so one friend can summon into your world and actually help you take out bosses together. This is clearly all entirely speculation at this point, based off the ad having the Nintendo Switch Online icon as a focal point of the promotional material, and it might mean nothing, so definitely keep that in mind. But I do think that it is exciting to entertain the idea that Zelda Tears of the Kingdom may just have some certain modes or certain gameplay elements hidden into it that none of us Zelda fans actually expected, and I personally am here for all of it. I have my hype level set to an all-time maximum. The fact that we are quickly going to be in the year of 2023 and ultimately just 5 months away from Zelda Tears of the Kingdom's release is huge for me. We have been talking about this forever here on the channel. The possibilities are endless. Do we see a return to traditional dungeons like I am definitely hoping for? Maybe some traditional item unlocks along the way, but still somehow balancing that with a true open world experience. Will items remain breakable this time around, which some people are a fan of, others are not? Will we see upgradable items? A really big idea that I saw come out of the comments last time we talked about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and something that I would personally love. Again, that kind of Dark Souls reference. That is something I truly enjoy, finding my sword that I want to traverse through the majority, if not all of the game with going forward, and pouring in upgrade materials to level it up and have it scale damage accordingly. I think there's some elements from that gameplay style that works really well in this Zelda open world experience that we could see brought over if done right. And when we're talking about exciting core gameplay mechanics like that, with the storytelling and the lore and the world that goes along with a major Legend of Zelda game, and it being the first sequel to this ever new open world formula we've seen them evolve into, this is just a very fascinating topic for me. But I want to hear from you guys at this point in the video, your personal thoughts and speculation around what, if anything, you think this Nintendo Switch Online icon means. Do you think it's something as simple as cloud save data and that is why it's on this promotional material? Or do you buy into the fact that this is likely something tied to a gameplay mechanic that we just don't know about yet, and it could be something like co-op, it could be something like a side gameplay mode that you can hop into and experience with 2 to 4 players or just your friends online? What do you really think this is, and what's your personal wish list of things you want to see return from the original Breath of the Wild, and things you want to see evolve or changed in terms of core gameplay mechanics when we talk about things like Tears of the Kingdom? Do you want to see traditional dungeons and maybe some traditional item unlocks like the hook shot and things come back? Or would you prefer more of the same and more of that shrine-based exploration and divine beast layout that we saw in Breath of the Wild? So regardless of your thoughts and feelings on everything we talked about today, I do look forward to hearing from you all in the comments down below before you leave the video, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around this topic. Go watch yesterday's video next if you haven't already, which is on screen right now. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next video.